We are now at our third location. Obviously it's a bit dark now.
So we'll be staying at the Premier Inn in Eastleigh, and then we're heading back tomorrow. Now, it might not be the biggest boot, but at the end of the day it's perfect for what we need it for. So you can get a suitcase in there, some bags. We've also got the back seats as well. Nice interior light. We've got about 27 miles of electric range, which is around 80%. And it'd be really interesting to see how that affects our economy tomorrow. In case you're wondering, the 40 miles per gallon is me traveling at, I suppose, moderate acceleration around 70 mark. If I put my foot down, then I can get it as low as 28, but typically 35, which I don't think is bad without electric.
You've got multicoloured mood lighting here as well.
That's a lovely touch, isn't it? If I shut the door and then open it again.
It's lovely.
Blues, greens,
purples,
reds, or purple, don't know.
It's
also in the back as well.
It's a very nice touch. And also these illuminate when it's dark as well. We have all-round LED lights and also progressive indicators. There. Woo!
A damn fine SUV.
Sorry, kid. Maybe wait a few more years. MG, get more.
Yay!
Just about to leave the Premier Inn. Whilst Annabelle does some packing, I thought we'd just do a quick walk around the exterior. The wheels look very smart on this. And that's the thing, when the ZS first came out, they looked too small for the vehicle, whereas on the HS, they look the perfect size. They're also comfortable because they've got quite a big profile on the tyre as well. But not to the point that it looks ugly. The proportions and the styling in this vehicle really work. Now, the one thing that does surprise me is still, there's no front parking sensors. It's not the biggest vehicle in the world, but you've got a 360 camera and rear parking sensors, so it just would have made a little more sense to add front parking sensors. Styling wise, well, you look at this and essentially it just looks a bit like a bigger ZS, which I think is a good thing. It's more pronounced grille and just, I suppose, bigger, more pronounced styling as well. Beautiful. Also, MG have thought outside the box as well and put doors that cover the sills, so if you do want to get a little adventurous, it's all good. Saying that, decent ride height, especially if you get this low. There is no four-wheel drive option though. Discs all around, good brakes, electronic handbrake as well. You've even got descent control. I've got the key in my pocket. I just went up to the boot and it opened, courtesy of the keyless entry. However, the back doors don't, unless I press this. Decent space, and that is my driving position as well, so lots of leg room. Get your feet under the seats, very well trimmed, and this is like a mix between hard and soft, but it's good quality as well. Nice padded areas, decent cup holder, mini MG kick plates as well. Comfortable supportive seats, and you can travel for a long time without any back pain or any aches. You can get out feeling pretty good. Isofix points, and up there you've got a pretty big panoramic sunroof with an electronic blind. And don't forget airbags. Can stay chilled in the back. You've got USBs too, and some map pockets. So we're just packing up for our final adventure. And in case you're wondering, yes, you do have a 7-year warranty. It did used to be 5 years. Nice work, MG. So 69%, 22 miles, 256 miles of range as well.
And here we are on our last leg of the trip, which means we're heading back home.
Currently we're showing 34.3. We're in auto. So what my aim is not to use electric mode. So what I'm going to try and do is boot it up to over about 30 to kick the petrol engine in. Because otherwise we'll start using our electric, which is perfectly fine if we're just bombing around little villages or say the Lake District, but because we're going to be doing motorway journeys, it's best to keep a fair chunk of electric, and then we can get the higher mileage. Yeah, exactly. So you'll see sharp acceleration, yet when we get on the motorway I'll try and hold it down. But this is me.
now. I think.
So MPG's now dropped to 30. So let's see how this changes.
In the way.
Now we kept getting asked for baked goods. Apologies, we've not had a chance to go to any baked goods stores.
Yes.
We set a precedent of this and we've not even stuck to it. Annabelle, you need to take up baking. Turning circle's not bad on this. And cornering, if there's nothing here, you would be really pushing it. Whee! So, let's hit cruise control. We're doing about 70 miles an hour.
Go straight on for 7 minutes to junction 9 to 834.
So, as we've demonstrated, this will now follow the vehicle in front. I'm going to shorten it a bit as well. So, I'm expecting our MPG to go up. Interestingly, whenever you select Adaptive Cruise, the cluster will change to this display. So to get back to it, you just press this. And then you've got it again. So, our MPG is 34.7. It's also, it seems to be regenning when it can as well, which is nice. But for the benefit of economy for the HS Hybrid, I'm going to hold it down. Hello, fellow MG!
Hello. Rather busy on the other carriageway, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad we're not going that way. So we're travelling at 58 miles an hour now. We're on the M3. We're using 40. How interesting. Braking for the Range Rover in front, and it is using the regen, so it's actually putting a little bit of power back into the battery. Currently 38 miles per gallon. Bear in mind when you do reset it, it will take a while to get back up to show you what's the true figure. It's such a pleasure driving this vehicle. I mean, like I mentioned on the way down, it's going to be such a relaxing journey back. Nice comfortable seats. The car virtually drives itself. And if you get stuck in traffic as well, it'll just stop start itself. The benefit of a hybrid or an electric is things like this. This is quite a steep hill. This kind of pull normally would start depleting your engine power. So any ICE vehicle, you'd be really having to drop a gear or floor it, unless you've got a really big engine and you're already at a constant speed. But in something like a hybrid or electric, if you feel you need to get out of the way, you just literally floor it here and you'll just rock it up here like it's flat. But when we start going down, you do notice that the power on the right goes into negative, so it starts recouping on its own. Cruise has just brought us up to the junction, and now we're stationary. Now, I am assuming it's not going to pull away on its own. Let's find out. And you're right, it hasn't. So, as I mentioned before, if you do stop at, say, a junction for a set amount of time, you will need to reapply the accelerator. But you don't need to hit the brake or anything to restart it or anything, you just need to literally hit the accelerator. In case you're wondering, I was doing 50 then and I pressed the EV mode, and because I've got enough battery, it actually went into full electric mode. But it will deplete a lot faster. So the best bet is to use auto.
Have you taken it off?
Yeah, I put it straight back into auto.
Ah, right, excellent.
If I press it now, you'll see. Into EV. So, but it does deplete at this speed rather quick. Ooh, GTR. The strange thing is though, it's registering 42.6 to the gallon and 8 kilowatts per hour per 100 miles. But weirdly, our range is going up 3 or 4 miles at a time. So we've now got a 291 mile range and 17 miles and 53% of battery. So I'm wondering if the reading's not particularly accurate, but we're still getting that economy. Right, we found the challenge. We've literally just held down OK, and that's reset the average consumption. We're doing 56 miles an hour, 17 miles of range, 53% on the battery, 288 miles of range from the full system. But look, average consumption is now heading towards 100 miles. It's just gone from 40 straight up to 50. It's now at 65.
And climbing 66.9.
So that's what we needed.
So we needed to reset it whilst we were on our journey.
Exactly. So we're now getting 70 to the gallon pretty much.
I reckon that will go up again.
It'll be interesting to see. It's actually coming down again. reset it again and see if that does something. And if that's the case, it might be.
Well, if it drops
something
again,
that needs
then
an
that's what we'll do.
update. We've now exceeded 70, back under slightly. We are going up a hill, and this is the instant economy. I mean, it claims it's average, but it's changing so frequently, so I call it more instant.
Real-time economy.
Yeah. If it held it over 60, I'd be happy. The other way to do it as well is, I mean, it's quite an interesting way of travelling, but you could just use your 17 miles or whatever, and then recoup as you drove, but then you'd be using your petrol engine more. But you'd still have 17 miles of nice silent electric driving.
Which, especially for like no emission zones in, say, the big cities like London, that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. You can reserve it as well, can't you?
You can.
So we're now travelling at just under 70 and we're getting 53 to the gallon.
And something just interesting happened, didn't it?
Yes, good point. Thank you, Annabelle. When the 40-footer was changing lanes then, because its tail came very close to the line, the sensors on this detected that it could come into our carriageway and slowed the vehicle down. So just be aware that may happen if something starts to get very close to its line. And it's safer for it to do that than try and get through a gap it can't.
Yeah.
Even heading up this hill, there's still well over 50 to the gallon. Okay, it's detected the 40-footer again. Starting to slow down. And the Fiesta's got past. I'll indicate out. It's now giving me power again. It's a very responsive system. Now I just put my foot down and got to the higher motorway speeds just to see how it would affect it. So we dropped down to about 44.6 to the gallon, but our range is now 309 miles, so it's still going up. 15 miles of range and electric, and 48% of battery as well. So it's an interesting system, to be honest. At motorway speeds, it's nice and agile, so I can change lanes at, if I needed to, 85, 90. Not that you'd be doing that speed, but it's very handy for things like autobahns.
Wow.
Yeah, they're actual tanks, aren't they? They just love an adventure. On a private track, you could have a lot of fun in this. It'll quite easily exceed 100 miles an hour, even though I don't think it's really supposed to. It's like EVs, they're limited to like 93, but this, and all the way up to that, you still got the same kind of acceleration and power as you did have at the bottom end.
That's bonkers.
Which makes it remarkably fun on a road where you can just unleash. You know, private airfields, orchards, zoos.
You name it.
Yeah. Always get to zookeepers' authority first. You can plod around on little country roads in electric mode, or you can use a bit of petrol if you need to boost up a hill. Or you could use your electric mode and have some real fun. And the thing is, ooh, MG. There's a lot of MGs appearing. On a motorway, at no point do you feel like you've got no power. It's just permanently there under your foot. You will see your economy suffer, but it's fun. And I still think getting 40 to the gallon travelling at exuberant speeds, spirited, whatever you want to call it, basically lead foot mode, and blipping the accelerator left, right and centre and doing no kind of, what's the word, smooth driving in the slightest, you still get a decent economy in my eyes. Eagle. More birds of prey hovering above carriageways.
I've got it.
Yes. And it's, I know I keep saying it's a joy to drive, but it really is. Yeah, it's good.
That's a lot of tanks.
I was going to say, what's going on?
Maybe it's a tank's day out.
Tank Bear's picnic. Time for kickdown. That's how fast you can zoom. We had to back straight off as well. Yeah, hills aren't really a problem for this. It's the thing is, before you know it, you're exceeding the speed limit quite heavily, so you have to be very careful. The greatest thing is nobody expects it, not one person, unless you've driven it, which is few and far between. As I keep saying, drive it. Just drive the HS Hybrid. It's that good. It's nice and comfortable. The suspension's an interesting one. Because it's got all that power and it's got the weight with the batteries as well. If you do put your foot down and then kind of steer out quite sharply, you do feel an element of torque steer, which is pretty cool, to be honest. What I deem from this car is that you can do 3 figures, 105, 110, maybe even more, on say a country road per gallon. But when you get onto the motorway, if you're travelling at the speeds I travel, which is 70 to a touch over 70, very, very rarely below it, you can probably get about 70 to the gallon. Obviously, if you keep flooring it as well, that will swiftly drop to say 55, which I don't actually think is bad. You've also got your electric mode when you're on an A road as well, and you can recoup left, right and centre, and the car does do that. So the bar drops and goes into minus figures. That way you know you're recouping. You'll also notice that your range has actually gone up on the left hand side, and also that your battery can slowly recharge too.
It's a simple yet effective system to try and recoup as much battery charge as you travel on long distances, isn't it?
Oh no, it's a good system.
And another MG. Yay.
Yeah, ZS this time. Some of these dual carriageways with mining subsidence, you can feel bumps like undulation. That's interesting. Every time you go over one, something like this normally, you'd feel like a bit of airiness and kind of like whee, whereas this does not. It just feels like and then it digs its heels in and you put your foot down and it just zips off. It's the same with the cornering on it as well. That also eliminates body roll, but it still makes it very comfortable. That's it, we never got a chance to experience this kind of thing last time we had it. We took it down the shore, we took it around the little country roads and tried to get a good economy on country roads, but now we've had this on a motorway. Wow. If you want to get stuck in a vehicle in traffic, this is a good one. Oh, there's another MG. So that's a ZS. We keep seeing lots and lots of MGs. Now, when we first took out, what was it, MG3 to Revival, it'd be every Preston Guild you would see an MG. If you're not familiar with the area, that means once in a blue moon. And today, we must have passed 5 or 6 just on this stretch of road.
It's a good thing to see, isn't it?
It's
really nice.
No, Chinese, no, no, it won't be. Another MG. And I was like, well, actually look at them for what they are. Oh no, it's got cheap stuff in it, that. I mean, just look at that steering wheel. You mean that Golf GTI steering wheel?
Yeah, as I say. Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, I say, say VWG. Plus this even comes with Michelin tyres.
In 3.6 miles,
the way they're heading is just remarkable.
Take the first exit onto M40 towards the Midlands.
The bottom line is, we started our journey in Planetauto properly when MG started their journey. Drive on.
And you'll see what we mean.
Back on the M40, I'm going to stop and get some lunch in a bit. I had a lead foot, so I'm back down to 38.5 to the gallon, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Interestingly enough, we are having a bit of trouble finding a Type 2 charger on the motorway services, aren't we?
Yeah, weirdly you can find CCS and Chakademus and Pliers, but you cannot weirdly find any Type 2.
Until Charnock Richard.
Instead of, yeah. We were driving along then, I was chatting to Annabelle, keeping an eye on the road, and then all of a sudden the cruise control decided to try and do an emergency stop. And I'd seen it, but it had been fractionally faster than me, which is good. Having Overwatch is a good thing.
Yes, we've got a lot of love for MG pilots, haven't we?
Oh, it's a very good
It is
system.
like having an extra pair of eyes.
It is.
Just watching over what you're doing.
Saying that, a lot of the manufacturers have this kind of thing now.
Yeah.
On that note, we've got 508 Peugeot Sport Engineered review to go up.
We have, yeah. Headrests, especially because they are integrated into the seat here, it's not only a case of they can't move, but even if they did, they'd only go up or down, which means if you've got your hair in a bun or a ponytail at the back of your head, it's, especially for long journeys, it's going to get very uncomfortable very quickly. So you either have to, and I'm going to use Ben's head as instructor points here, you either have to have the pineapple at the top of the head here, or something low and to the side here, which is generally what I go for. In other MG models, I mean, as I said, these are integrated into the seat, whereas say, for instance, the ZS EV, it can go further forwards, but it can't go back enough for your bun or your ponytail. So please do bear that in mind. Also,
this does include man buns and man tails too, if that's the word.
Also, another thing that I find, and I'm not the only woman to find this, the first thing I end up having to do when I sit in this car is bring the back, this bit, further forward. Because as a lady, I sit up more than a man anyway, and that's just to do with pelvises. And again, on a long journey, that can get a little bit uncomfortable. So it's just worth noting.
So we've heard the challenges with MG seats and headrests for women. Now that's the kind of thing I just have never picked up on, but it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Nice and roomy inside. I love the sport seats myself. It's interesting to see no eDrive logo though.
Considering its high ride height, the fact that it's a pretty big vehicle and it's also quite tall as well, you can actually chuck it around and it's far more agile and nimble than you give it credit for. Too George! Ooh, Rover. Well, couldn't really go into the details of the sound system, but it has very good bass lines. It's not really a premium system. 56 miles an hour, that's cool now. That's going to drop it to 50. But, look at that. Yeah, man. That's good. Yeah, and I can put power down as well. This is the back off. The regen slows me down anyway. Very British in that way, aren't we?
Well, of course. This could be what you would call a modern afternoon savoury tea.
Yes. We have arrived at Norton. Right, so as we know, there are no Type 2, so that's out. We've got 17% of electric, which is 5 miles of range. We've got 116 miles of range left on the actual vehicle as well.
Turn right.
However, I was having fun, which means the economy run went out.
In 700 feet.
Oh my word, there's another Pimlico Blue ZS EV charging over there. Keyless entry, meaning I can come straight up to the boot. As I mentioned, it's not the biggest boot, but you can now see it empty at least. Under the floor, your charger, inflation kit as well. That's also a 12-volt battery, triangle, and some other random bits. Always a good day when you see a G.
Range check, 17% of electric, which is 5 miles, 116 miles of range and 130 miles home. So I'm going to hold it down a bit, see if we can get back on that fuel. Also, we're now going to reserve some electric so we can do some electric driving when we get back towards Silverdale and see what we can get the MPG to.
Idiotic driving, wasn't it?
I was going to say, everyone got in my flaming way.
So I'm putting it on high.
So this is how you're pushing off battery power.
So we will keep an eye on seeing what that does to our range.
Well, it should keep that and start using the petrol engine more. Surrounded by sporty motors and C43 and an S6. A beautiful Alfa Romeo. Very, very nice. With us going stop-start and dropping in and out and using electric and then using petrol and so on, it's actually boosted it from 7 to 10 miles and 33% in the space of about 3 or 4 miles.
Wow. That's impressive.
It is. It's obviously because we started doing like 10 miles now, then 30, then 60, and then back down to 30 and so on. So it was a lot of accelerator and it was a lot of acceleration and then back off and then let the regen do its job. And
boy, has it done its job.
Yeah. So, oh dear.
This is not looking good.
Oh, it's emptied. The wagon is emptied whilst driving.
Oh dear.
One thing that's disappeared on this, and I do miss it, is eDrive embossed on the rear of these seats. And that's the thing about manufacturers, from model to model, certain things disappear.
So we have 59 miles of range and 65 miles to go. But, as I said, 9 miles of electric, and that will make all the difference. I think this vehicle's rumoured to have 10 gears. You kind of feel it because it's so smooth when it transitions. The more gears, the smoother the transition. Over Thelwall, we go. It's the thing, when you get to Thelwall, you're like, ooh, I'm nearly home. Even though it's still like 60 mile, it just seems like you're on that side of the country. Or
it's like the north-south divide,
exactly,
isn't it?
yeah, that's it. Meccano. We're getting a bit punch-drunk and a little bit tired. But I'm not surprised, it's been another stop-start journey. And we're setting off in 3 days to do pretty much the same again, but this time in Lady Dorothy. So we're back up to 75 miles of range. Realistically, we probably have got back what's in there, but then we need to go out tomorrow, so it made sense to get it. 8 miles of electric range, 24%.
So even if we do hit a bit of traffic now, we've got comfortably enough to get back.
Exactly. We'll put it on charge tonight, and that'll give us 33 miles of electric. So not far from home now at all, 37 miles.
We're just coming up to the Preston junctions, aren't we?
Yeah. You'll probably remember this should have been a ZS manual. When we realised we were going on such a road trip, we thought actually it makes more sense to use an HS hybrid, seeing that we only had it and did brief things with it, didn't we? Like little roads and so on.
Yeah. We wanted to do it, but at the time no one could have. So it's been nice to have the opportunity to do so now.
Exactly. That's got brake lights on permanently.
Yes.
There's something seriously wrong with that car.
Yeah. Cow crossing!
Well, this is an interesting view, but it gives us a chance to get across what we both think about, doesn't it? Because this road trip's been completely different by the fact that it's our first proper road trip with a car.
In a very long time.
Well, since
Before
proper
lockdown,
lockdowns.
yeah.
Exactly.
So that's 18 months. Gosh, that's a long time.
So, meeting people, driving this car, trying to work out what traffic's doing and all that kind of thing.
It's been interesting to say the least.
It's been a learning curve again, hasn't it?
And this HS PHEV has really done everything that we've thrown at it, hasn't it?
Well, it has,
with
yeah.
ease.
Well, I mean, we did get a taster, didn't we, back in April?
We did.
Right, you're not going to end up with 100 miles per gallon on a motorway. That's just not going to happen. But if you drive economically enough, you can quite easily get closer to 70.
See, that's really good.
Realistically, even me driving the way I do, probably 40 to 50, which is perfectly fine. Yeah. The country roads. So you've got your electric range of 30 or so miles. And it's just nice and quiet, isn't it? You can just plod around the villages, but it's got some oomph as well.
So if you need to get out of a tight spot, get out of the way if there's something big coming towards you.
Oh, past a tractor.
Exactly.
0 to 67 seconds is, you know,
That's pretty damn good.
quick on its feet for its size.
Yes.
270 brake horsepower. Also, when you start driving in hybrid mode with the auto system, then you get well over 100 miles when you're plodding along on A roads up to, say, 40 miles an hour. It's been comfortable, it's been safe, it's got MG Pilot. We've got out of it after 6 hours, no back pain, no aches, no things, and it's been nice, hasn't
It's
it?
been superb, I will go that far. And especially for what you get for the money. This is under £32,500.
It is.
Brilliant. Thank you, MG.
7-year warranty as well.
Oh, yes.
On the A roads, especially on the A6, you can actually see that this will quite easily, happily corner at 60 miles an hour. So that's 59 and powering out.
Turn left onto 19 Acre Lane.
Interesting thing with the active cruise control. I just realised if you're doing, say, 40, 50 miles an hour and you start going around sharper bends, it will actually scrub a bit of the speed off. Meaning you can actually exit the bends slower. I don't quite know what the threshold is, but when I went into 2S bends back there, then it scrubbed off between 5 and 6 miles an hour. Now I'm wondering if it's set to the road or if it just scrubs off a certain amount at whichever speed you're at. Interesting.
That was a forward collision warning.
Now we've only got 1 mile of electric range, but it still means that we can potter along here at 30 miles an hour. It's very smooth. And that's the thing about this. Even when you're switching between the electric and the petrol on things like motorways, the transition is seamless.
And you've got that great sci-fi noise, haven't you?
You do. It kind of disappears the faster you get, doesn't it?
Yes.
Nice weighted steering. I just love it. Regen's perfect for this because it means I don't have to brake.
Taycan.
Ooh. I wonder if that makes a sci-fi noise. Well, we know it does.
Exactly. We know it does.
Battle of the EVs. Okay, we're hybrid. Still running electric. Oh,
Whoa! Yes, you can hear it. Way. Ooh.
very nice. Oh, petrol's kicked in. I think we've depleted full electric.